My name is Ramesha. I am originally from Switzerland, but I have been living for the last 14 years in California in a spiritual community called Ananda. It's a community of a little over 200 people. We're all spiritual seekers, meditators, yoga practitioners. I was able to move to California because my wife is from San Francisco, and so that made it easy for me to come from Switzerland and be here. I started being interested in spirituality when I was very, very young. I started taking yoga classes with my mom when I was 7. And then from then on, we became good friends with the teacher. And from then on, I was always interested in yoga, meditation. I don't know why. It was just something that I was passionate about. And then when I met my wife, she was already very much involved with Ananda, and so I became involved too. And so then one thing led to another, and we decided to move here. And this is where we live, is the very first community that this direct disciple of Yogananda, Swami Kriyananda, built. And so here we are.
When I was 19, I actually studied. I started flute lessons and eventually switched completely to flute and majored in flute performance at San Francisco State. And then I went to the conservatory, and it's not quite as linear as I'm saying it, but I did get there eventually. And then I worked as a freelance classical flutist for, I don't know, 20, 30 years in the San Francisco Bay Area.
Music is usually seen as entertainment for the most part by people. The way we use and make music at Ananda has more to do with what music can do for you to help you be inspired, be uplifted.
And then through a whole series of circumstances, I found Ananda. And Ananda is a yoga and meditation path, spiritual path. But music is a big part of Ananda. What I found was that I had the opportunity to record and to perform for God, not for, to be the best flutist in the area, not to make the most money, but as my spiritual gift, as my spiritual offering. And it changed everything.
So the album is called Breeze of Bliss, and it's an album of 11 devotional chants. Devotional chanting is a music style that has now become, I wouldn't say mainstream, but has become more known in the West. It's a style that comes from India originally, and the way I would describe it is like it's like a singing prayer.
This project was born out of our collaboration together in recording his first solo album, Thou Art My Life. I was the engineer on that, and I edited and mixed that one with the help of my friend Mike Georgia. And at the end of that project, we had about 9 or 10 or 11 chants left over. And they sat around for a little bit, and Ramesh and I had done some talking, and we realized that it'd be really fun to go back to those chants and see what we can do with those. It needed to actually add something to the vibration of the chant. It needed to add to the experience without taking away the deeper aspect of the chant. Because you can, add a plethora of things to a song or to a chant, and it doesn't add anything to it. You're adding, but it's actually taking away. And so this really everything we did had to be a plus to the experience, to the listener's experience. And we had a great time with that. And I think we really accomplished that as well. I think we did a really good job figuring that out.
The blind, halt and lame, they have heard thy name. There's one of them that when that kind of got me started with the idea of recording, and I don't know why, but it's the one called "They Have Heard Thy Name," and it's a chant that has a lot to do. It focuses a lot on God's mercy, and just asking God to basically remember to welcome your children even when they do wrong. And it's obviously God. We know God is like that. We don't need to remind him that, but we need to remind ourselves, because I feel that there's a pervasive feeling of unworthiness in general. And so I think it's really important to remember that God is not a punishing God. God is a loving God. And so this chant, I feel, helps us really remember that.
So the question is, what was it like to work with Ramesha on this album? That's kind of a loaded question. Because of course he's my husband. No, but actually I do have a serious thing that I want to say about that. One of the things I realized in working with Ramesha on this project is that I'm a person who is riddled with doubts. I always have a lot of doubts. And one of the things I realized is that he has a very clear vision, and he really is not riddled with doubts when it comes to his vision. And so it's been kind of instructive to me to watch him be able to just move forward with the project and just do the things that he believes are the right things. And I'm really kind of like, wow, that must be really cool to be able to do that. Because often I'll have an idea of what I think would be the right thing, but then I'm like, oh, I don't know. And I have to kind of get validation from other people. So that was interesting to watch the difference in how we approach it in working on this project with him.
Well, before I came to Ananda Village, I was a professional rock and roll musician, played drums, played bass guitar in different rock bands, did quite a bit of touring, had quite a bit of studio experience before I came to Ananda Village. When I came in 1980, I got interested in learning how to play tabla. So I taught myself how to play, took some lessons, and started playing tabla for Kirtans, recording, did quite a bit of recording with Swami Yogananda, our founder, playing tabla and also playing guitar and singing. And so when I did the recording for Ramesha's album, it was kind of interesting because Ramesha had already recorded the album. So he asked me to overdub the tabla parts. Now, which for me wasn't really difficult to do because I have a lot of experience in doing overdubs. So I had a great time recording the tabla parts.
The recording process was a ton of fun, and it was my idea to bring Mike Georgia back into the project to help us mix it. I realized, I don't know, halfway through or three-quarters of the way through that we would probably want to bring in Mike to really do the heavy hitting when it came to the mixing. I spent a week down in Los Angeles with Mike, and we went through the album and mixed and mastered. And while I was there, we got to about 98% done. And then that last 2%, it was a lot of hands-on with Ramesha. I had all Ramesha's notes, and, having been there from day one, I knew what I wanted to hear. But then, obviously it's Ramesha's album, and he's got the ear for knowing exactly those little fine attunements and those fine points to adjust this way and that way. And and so it was just a ton of fun. Working with everybody on this project was fun.
Hey, my name is Mike Georgia, and I did the mixing and mastering on Ramesha's album. And it was a pleasure to work with Ramesha. I've known him for years. One of my best friends for life brought me onto the project, and it was just great to hear the depth of colors and layers in this album. So I had a pleasure working on it and mixing things and mastering it. A little background about me. I've been a musician for about 20 years. I started with guitar, but I've always had a passion for writing and recording as well. And it was, it's been a fun journey where I've got to meet some very cool people and had some great experiences. I'm currently putting out music under my own name, Mike Georgia, and also producing tracks for artists, co-writing with singers and other songwriters as well.
It, all the musicians, Bhagavati, Ramesha's wife, she played flute and she sang on the album, and it's always fun working with Bhagavati because she's such a vibrant, fun light to work with. And Lewis Howard, he was our tabla player. He was fantastic. It was so much fun watching him play and bringing in his attunement to the music.
Life flowing through my veins, can it be other than divine? What is this life flowing through my veins? Can it be other than divine? In thy light, in thy love, in thy joy, I am one.
The way the album developed, I recorded the singing and myself playing harmonium at the same time. That was the first part of the recording. Honestly, at first I thought it was going to end there. And then I started to feel like, no, I need to add more to this and just make it, I don't know, it just felt like it was calling for more. And so I recorded some violin on it, which I play. So I added that. And then I added some guitar, which I played. And then I added some background vocals. And that was fun. I love to do that stuff. You just do one thing on a track, and then you do the other thing, and then you do the other thing. And in 20 minutes time, you sound like a choir. I love that. It's great. And then I'm so lucky because my wife is a really fine flutist. And so obviously she was, I called her and asked her to play flute on some of the tracks, which was wonderful. And not only that, she also sang some background vocals with me because you needed some higher notes that were a little uncomfortable for me to reach. And so she did that. And then a friend of mine here, Louis, who's been living in this community for a long time musician, he played tablas. Tablas are these percussion Indian drums played with the hands that are really, really beautiful and so perfect for this kind of music. And he played them so nicely. And so that's what happened. And then my friend Christian, who is also the sound guy, he's the guy who recorded everything. He also played tambura. Tambura is an Indian instrument. It doesn't really play a melody, but it creates a beautiful carpet of sound that is immediately evocative of India. When you hear that, it's like, oh yeah, I'm in India. There's no question. And we use that on some of the chants, especially the ones that are a little slower, maybe a little bit more inward. And I find it creates this magical atmosphere. It was really, really a fun time. I love studio time. It's so bonding and so much fun. And so inspiring. Once you start and then you get more and more into it, then you feel like you get in a flow, and then it's almost like the music itself is carrying you.
There is something about the camaraderie of getting together in the studio and making things happen. That's something I'm doing less and less these days because I'm kind of in a little bit more of a more management position now. So it was kind of fun to get in the studio and actually come back to that experience.
You can go to any city in the world and find high caliber musicians who will do exactly what you want them to do and it'll sound great. But then to find musicians who also have that attunement to not only our path, but also this style of music and the energy that it takes to do to play this music with lightness and with heart and with the awareness of Spirit's presence within and without, that was special. That's really special. It's something I'm very thankful for, to have that experience and to hopefully to continually have that experience. And they're all my friends, and it's not like this is the last recording we're gonna do. Fingers crossed. It was great. It was great fun, and I'm looking forward to the next one.
I am not a composer. I have never been. I mean, I tried, but it didn't work very well. These chants are all written by either Paramahansa Yogananda, the Indian teacher who wrote Autobiography of a Yogi, and his disciple Swami Kriyananda, the founder of Ananda. And I find their music very, very inspiring. And I really feel that their music expresses feelings and ideas that are very much needed today. And unfortunately, I think their music is not very known. And so one of my purposes for doing this is to try to really reach as many people as possible with this message of love for God, devotion, cultivating inner peace, cultivating inner joy, and all these messages that music can convey so powerfully. I would much rather use music that someone else wrote that I resonate with, that I find deeply inspiring, and propose it maybe in a slightly different way or not, and just put it out there and offer it to people.
Most of the recording was done at the Crystal Hermitage studio, which is a studio that Swami Kriyananda built many years ago to record a lot of his own music. So being able to record there was very, very fun. It was very sweet, just because we know how much had been done there throughout the years. So, with Swami recording his music and so just being able to be in that creative space was really, really nice.
It's called Crystal Hermitage, and it's a beautiful house with amazing gardens around it, which right now are all in bloom, full of tulips everywhere, really beautiful. And inside downstairs, there's this little studio with a beautiful view over the canyon. So you're just in there recording music, and sometimes you look out the window and there's this expansive panoramic view. And so it's really inspiring and conducive to recording. Really, really beautiful. There's so much stimulation in today's world. Maybe not so much lately because we've been quarantined, but in general, there's a lot of stimulation, and so it's very important, and actually it's really healthy if we find ways to help us, regroup and calm down and get more in touch with ourselves. There's so much need for that, and I think people are starting to see more and more how important that is, but I think that a lot of people don't know how. They want to be more peaceful, but they have no idea how. And so I think we need to be able to provide an experience of inner peace that is tangible, something that is real. It might be a little unusual maybe to have an album cover where people wouldn't see my face, And the main reason for that is that I really feel that even though, yes, I sang and played these instruments, but I really feel that what I want to convey is way more important and bigger than me or any other musician who was part of this project.
I think what I hope this recording can accomplish is, we're in a time where people are really thirsty for spiritual support and for things that can help them feel more connected to the deeper meaning and purpose of life. And I think that devotional chanting is one of the ways that people can tune into that without, some people they're not ready for a full-on spiritual transformation. And they don't have to. But they could tap into something that helps them feel their center and feel the peace that we all have, that's there, ready and waiting for all of us. And devotional chanting is one of the ways that we can access that without a whole lot of dogma, without a whole lot of, you don't have to have particular belief systems, you just have to be willing to open your heart and let the vibration of the music lead you to that center of peace. And so I hope that this CD is able to help people find that.
I really urge you, if you're really looking for ways to find more inner peace in your life, to find ways to cope with hard situations, find ways to really be more connected with your inner self, I really do feel that this music can help. And so just go check it out and see how you feel about it.